George Russell's position in Formula One is increasingly uncertain, not due to a lack of skill, but because of Mercedes' focus on other drivers. Max Verstappen is clearly the team's top priority, putting Russell in a difficult spot. With teams like Red Bull and Aston Martin offering great opportunities for showcasing his abilities, could we potentially witness a surprising switch where Verstappen joins Mercedes and Russell takes his place? If this were to happen, would it impact Russell's career negatively? Sympathy for George Russell is growing. He's been in the spotlight for a while and has done nothing wrong. His performance has been consistent, standing shoulder to shoulder with the leading drivers and closely trailing Verstappen in the Drivers' Championship. He even clinched a victory in Canada. Yet his spot is at risk because of Verstappen. When a four-time world champion becomes available, it's hard to resist the chance, which is precisely why discussions between Wolff and Verstappen occurred in Sardinia. With these developments, Russell must consider other options. The most promising seems to be Red Bull, as they would need to move forward without Max. The Austrian squad witnessed a complete unravelling before their eyes. This collapse began with Newey's departure during last year's Miami GP and concluded with Horner's abrupt contract termination. Along the way, Red Bull bid farewell to Jonathan Wheatley and Courtney, and if Max Verstappen leaves next, it's a clear sign that something is amiss at the Milton Keynes base. This debacle could pose a significant challenge for Russell, stepping into a team seeking direction and reorganisation around him. While he holds a leadership role at Mercedes now, he also faces fierce competition from his highly skilled teammate Antonelli, touted as the sport's next big star. Russell's future with a 2026 contract hangs in the balance, contrasting with Antonelli's secured agreement, placing Russell under pressure to retain his seat. The situation is further complicated by Mercedes managing Russell's career, which means they might eventually need to inform him that he's no longer their top choice. However, Russell has stated that he doesn't take these discussions personally and isn't offended by them, noting that every team inevitably considers their future plans given they have only 2 seats to fill. I'm not fazed by all the speculation. I made it clear from the start that I'm fine partnering with anyone on the team. Sure, there's plenty of chatter and rumours swirling about, often with me in the spotlight, but I genuinely don't believe these will materialise. I'm keen to keep going with Mercedes in the long run. That said, if Russell were to leave Mercedes, his potential shift to Red Bull could be tricky, especially since Christian Horner isn't steering the ship there anymore. It's been rumoured that Horner previously chatted with his fellow Brit about what might unfold if tensions rose between Wolff and Verstappen, with little they could do. Now, with Horner out of the picture, it's intriguing to consider if Red Bull would look to bring in George from the outside or elevate someone from their ranks. The car's been underperforming, and without Max, Red Bull might be languishing mid-pack or worse. With Laurent Mekies coming in, the former Racing Bulls boss could pivot Red Bull's strategy towards nurturing young guns like Arvid Lindblad and Isaac Hadjar for the main team. It's a bold strategy, similar to what Mercedes did with Antonelli, but it could ultimately be a game changer. We're entering a new era of oversight where experience is key, which explains why Peter Bayer, CEO of Racing Bulls, is keen on keeping Hadjar on board until 2026, even joking he'd do anything to prevent him from joining the Austrian team. This turn of events presents a golden chance for Russell to join a team debuting with their own Ford-branded engines, aiming to prove Mercedes wrong for letting him go. However, Russell is also attracting attention from other teams, notably Aston Martin. The Silverstone-based crew has been assembling an impressive team, including notable figures like Adrian Newey and Honda executives, as well as Andy Cowell and Enrico Cardile. Russell and Cowell have some shared history from their brief stint together at Mercedes, which could be advantageous for Aston Martin. Rumour has it that Lawrence Stroll envisions Russell as a central figure in their upcoming venture, yet with complicated contract situations involving Alonso and Lance Stroll, making this move would be challenging. Due to the familial ties at Aston Martin, it's improbable that Russell will replace Lance Stroll. The Canadian driver currently signs yearly contracts, and Alonso is committed to remain until 2026. Despite being a 2-time world champion, Fernando knows the game well. He realises that if a promising driver like Russell becomes available, adjustments must be made to accommodate him. Fernando's future is already charted out as he's poised to become an Aston Martin ambassador post-retirement. Whether or not he races for another year won't really change much for him. Yes, he'd miss the chance to drive a car designed by Adrian Newey, but this could benefit the sport overall. This setup seems ideal for Russell more than one might think. With Lance Stroll as his less competitive teammate, If Aston Martin's collaboration with Honda produces an impressive car, Russell is sure to capitalize on it. Remember, Russell is renowned as one of the finest drivers and qualifiers. When it's crunch time, he's a talent you can count on to bring home a championship. Similarly, moving to Red Bull might offer resemblance to his current situation, as he won't have a fierce competitor like Max alongside him. However, if newcomers like Lindblad or Hadjar grasp the car dynamics surprisingly well, Russell might face similar challenges to those he encounters with Antonelli now. The real issue at hand is whether he'll break away from Mercedes. Even if he stays, he's fully aware of one thing: he isn't Toto Wolff's first choice. Wolff can talk all he wants and claim 1,000 times over that he's pleased with his current drivers, but we know that's not entirely true. If he were truly content, he wouldn't have waited until all this unfolded with Max Verstappen. Ultimately, it's creating an unfriendly atmosphere for Russell. The British driver might lose the drive to prove himself to Wolff, given all his efforts. After spending 3 years with Williams, a team often trailing behind, and then partnering with Hamilton, George surely deserved better. In fact, during the era of ground effect, from the team's 6 victories and 7 pole positions, Russell accounted for 4 wins and 6 poles. It's hard to argue against his potential as a core team driver. With Mercedes likely to be a strong contender for both championships from 2026 onward, the idea of Russell losing his spot to Verstappen feels unjust. However, George Russell must prioritise his future and cannot rely solely on Verstappen or Wolff to make decisions for him. Taking control of his career path could be wise for the British driver, rather than waiting for others to decide his fate. At the moment, he finds himself in a bit of a predicament. Even if he starts clinching victories, he could bump Verstappen from the top 3, triggering the latter's departure clause and complicating his own standing at Mercedes. This is simply the harsh, business-like reality of the sport. It's important to remember, though, that this speculation is based on current events and nothing more than rumours. Russell remains a driver for Mercedes, and sources close to the team suggest that Horner's exit won't impact his contract. In fact, it might actually be beneficial. For the next 3 years, there are plans to broaden the partnership, yet this doesn't necessarily secure Mercedes' future in the market. These actions are affecting their drivers in a negative way. Considering this, should Russell jump ship to Red Bull if he gets the chance? Moreover, after the recent gathering in Sardinia, would Wolff consider signing Verstappen? Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below. See you in the next video.